In one of the weirdest seasons in NBA history, the Los Angeles Lakers captured their 17th title. To some, it's an award that honored the late, great Kobe Bryant. To others, it's just a Mickey Mouse trophy with no ring to it. One way or another, this is a championship unlike any other we have seen in NBA history. But as we near the end of the 2025 season, only one player, LeBron James, currently remains a Laker. Let's break down what happened to the rest of the Lakers' most recent championship team. What happened to the 2020 Los Angeles Lakers? Anthony Davis' stock was at an all-time high following the 2020 championship. In his first year with the Lakers, LA went from finishing 10th in the West to 1st in the West and winning the NBA Finals. His 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists per game awarded him All-NBA First Team while being second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. In the following season, the Lakers awarded him with a 5-year, $190 million contract through the current 2025 season. However, Anthony Davis would come back in classic Anthony Davis fashion, struggling with injuries, only playing in 36 games, quite literally limping into the 2021 playoffs. The Lakers would be up 2-1 on the Phoenix Suns before Davis was sidelined with an injury, missing Game 5 and playing just 5 minutes in Game 6. Meanwhile, LeBron was struggling with his own injuries as well, as this was the year of that infamous Solomon Hill collision. 2022 was a similar story for Davis. Incredible play when on the court, but he only played 40 games this year, missing the All-Star game for the first time since his rookie season. In the 22-23 season, Davis had a stronger year with a historic 37-point, 21-rebound, 5-block, 5-steal game against the Phoenix Suns, and that was his 4th consecutive game of 30 points and 15 rebounds. Later that year, he put up a 44-point, 10-rebound, 4-assist, 3-block game against the Bucks, and then he followed that up with a 55-point game against the Wizards, becoming just the 4th player in NBA history to score 99 points in a 2-game stretch while shooting 70% from the field. But that year, Davis still missed time due to injuries, and he eventually came back for the playoffs, in which the Lakers made the Western Conference Finals. Unfortunately, they ran into a dominant force named Nikola Jokic and were swept by the Nuggets. And one of the marks of the series was that there was too little, too late from Anthony Davis. And then last year, 2024, arguably the best year of Davis's career in LA, he was healthy, playing in 76 games, he was an All-Star, he was All-NBA, he was 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and he just lived up to the hype of the AD trade. This was the Davis that the Lakers traded for, and with the aging LeBron, this is the Davis that the Lakers needed. However, the Lakers would again run into that same force of the Denver Nuggets. While this series ended in 4-1, this is the series of the Nuggets infamously just barely leading the entire series, and Jamal Murray turned into the greatest playoff performer since Michael Jordan. The Lakers lost, but they put up a more than comparable effort to their playoff rival. And this year, you know what happened. They gave up AD because they needed change, and Davis found himself a new home in Dallas. And Dallas immediately got the Anthony Davis experience, a good debut that ended early because of an injury. However, AD would come back and shortly into his Mavericks tenure, hit a game winner against the Atlanta Hawks. At the time I make this, Davis has been strong in Dallas, averaging 20 and 10 in less than 30 minutes of game time as the Dallas Mavericks fight for a play-in spot. And if you want defense like that of Anthony Davis, then I recommend you check out the sponsor of today's video, OneBrowser. OneBrowser is the familiar all-in-one browser solution. With a built-in VPN and proxy servers, OneBrowser is a simple-to-use system that allows you to be secure online. Not to mention, it allows you to manage multiple accounts through easy and secure account sharing, keeping your passcodes guarded just like an offensive player going up against the brow. Don't miss out, OneBrowser is the must-have tool of 2025. Try it out now with the link below. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was a key 3-and-D player during the Lakers finals run, shooting 38% from 3 on 6 attempts per game during that stretch. KCP had a solid year in 2021, starting in 67 games and having a then career best 41% from 3. He signed a 3-year, $40 million contract before he was then banished to Washington as a part of the Russell Westbrook trade. As all players do, they had career years as a Wizard, putting up mostly empty stats. However, he was steady, 13 points per night on a lineup that lacked identity and leadership. His play was rewarded as just 1 year following the Laker trade, he was again moved, this time to the Denver Nuggets. In his 2 years in Denver, he played arguably the best basketball of his entire career. He won his second championship in 2022, he was an amazing perimeter defender for a team that sorely needed it, and twice shot above 40% from 3, all while staying healthy, playing 76 games per year. KCP would become a key example of role players whose games were raised because of Nikola Jokic. This offseason, KCP signed a 3-year $66 million contract with the Orlando Magic. For Orlando, this was a huge move as this team lacked a veteran presence who could space out the floor without destroying their defensive identity. For the Nuggets, this posed to be a loss of one of their most key role players. However, this year posed to be a down year for the marksman, with him just shooting 34% from 3. And speaking of marksmen, let's talk about Danny Green, who won back-to-back championships with the Raptors in 2019 and the Lakers in 2020. Following the Lakers win, he was traded due to his inconsistent play in the playoffs, and who could forget that shot in Game 5? Danny Green was traded on draft night along with Jaden McDaniels for Dennis Schroeder. Just a month later, he was traded from OKC to Philadelphia for Al Horford. In Philly, Green signed a 2-year $20 million contract, but 2021 was his last solid year in the NBA, with a 3-time champion scoring 9 points per game while shooting 40% from 3. In 2023, Green would tear his ACL in the playoffs after a collision with Joel Embiid. He missed most of the season but was very active in the team in a mentor role. Green would then be traded by the 76ers. He would play 3 games in Memphis, 8 games in Cleveland, and have a 2-game stretch with the 76ers before being waived in November of 2023. After being unsigned, he would retire in October of 2024. Another recent retiree and legendary name of the 2010s includes Rajon Rondo. After the championship win, Rondo signed with the Atlanta Hawks and played 27 games there before being traded to the LA Clippers. He played out the season with Los Angeles before being waived at the start of the 21-22 season. Rondo would then return to the Lakers but play in just 18 games before being traded to the Cavaliers during their retooling period. Unfortunately, Rondo's career ended with him bouncing from team to team while making no significant impact on the court. He announced his retirement from basketball in April of 2024, and since his retirement, Rondo is focused on being a dad while still being involved in the NBA media and having his time in the current NBA spotlight. Another retired player from Rondo's era includes Dwight Howard. In 2020, Howard finally won his first and only ring with the Lakers while receiving votes for 6th Man of the Year. He also notably started in 5 of the 6 finals games against Miami. In 2021, Howard would play 69 games with the 76ers before re-signing with the Lakers in 2022. He started in 27 games for the injured Anthony Davis and averaged 6 and 6 in 60 games. Afterwards, he was unable to secure a role in the NBA and famously went over to Taiwan. Howard got an exception for the Foreign Player League cap, signing for $1 million, hoping that it would boost league interest. His debut saw him put up 38 points, 25 rebounds, 9 assists, and 4 blocks. In 2023, he was named an All-Star and won All-Star MVP. He was also selected to the league's All-First Team, Defensive First Team, and Most Valuable Imported Player. After his time in Taiwan, Howard has played in exhibition games, and at the time that I make this, he signed with the Big 3 League as well as being announced as a member of the 2025 Hall of Fame class, a well-deserved position for the all-time great center. Another famous center on this team includes the one, the only, JaVale McGee. After the Lakers ring, he was traded to the Cavaliers for Jordan Bell and Alfonso McKinney. He'd play in just 33 games before being traded to the Nuggets for Isaiah Hartenstein, who I completely forgot played in Cleveland. That offseason, he signed a 1-year deal with the Phoenix Suns, and he was an incredibly reliable backup center to DeAndre Ayton, making it all the way to the finals with that team. Afterwards, he spent a year in Dallas before being waived and spent the 2023-24 season on the Sacramento Kings. At 37 years old, JaVale McGee has yet to officially retire, and from what I could find, he is currently playing in the highest level of the Puerto Rican Basketball League. At the moment, he's averaging 18 points and 10 rebounds per game in just 26 minutes of playing time. An older player who had a strong impact on this team was J.R. Smith. The Henny God would play in just 16 combined regular season and playoff games that year, and 2020 would mark the end of his NBA career. Following his retirement, he enrolled at North Carolina A&T to focus on his academics and played golf at the collegiate level. While it's been years since we have seen him on the court, the Henny God is still active in social media and in the basketball scene. Like J.R. Smith, Dion Waiters had a small role on the 2020 Lakers, but he was still there long enough to earn himself a ring. Waiters was not able to earn himself a roster spot on the following season, and he went on a 3-year hiatus from the league to where he reportedly struggled with major depression. In August of 2023, Waiters had a workout with the Warriors, but the team chose not to sign him. Waiters has yet to retire, and just a few months ago, he claimed he is still capable of dropping 20 points per game in the current league. Dion is just 33 years old, and while an NBA return or overseas basketball return is possible, I wouldn't deem it extremely likely. Let's talk about a current player because it's been a minute. One current player from this team is Kyle Kuzma, who in 2020 was coming off an incredibly promising 2019 campaign. Kuz would spend one more year in the purple and gold before being traded with KCP to the Washington Wizards for Russell Westbrook. Like KCP, Kuzma's stats would go up, however he would grow a reputation of becoming an empty stats player. From 2022 to 24, Kuzma would average over 21 points per game for the Wizards. However, this year saw him with an incredibly slow start, playing in 32 games in Washington and scoring just 15 points per game. Near the deadline, Kuzma was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks for Chris Middleton, to where so far he's had a smaller role, his stats have gone down, but his efficiency has risen a bit. Following the Lakers ring, Markieff Morris saw a diminished role with the team. Injuries started to take over and the Lakers let him walk by the end of 2021. And that offseason, he signed with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo on the Miami Heat. He had a small role, but he was known for his leadership, toughness, and defensive prowess. He would play in just 17 games for the Heat before being waived. In 2023, Morris would play briefly with Brooklyn and Dallas, and this year, he would play 7 games on the Dallas Mavericks before being traded alongside Luka Doncic to where he currently is on the Lakers. However, he's on an end-of-bench role and we rarely ever see him suit up. Talen Horton-Tucker was a rookie during the championship run, playing in just 6 regular season games, but by the next year, he was a consistent rotational player for the Lake Show. He would spend 2 more years in LA before being traded to Utah for Patrick Beverley. In Utah, he would play around 20 minutes per game, averaging 10 points per game. After his stint in Utah, he would sign a 10-day contract with the Bulls, and that contract eventually turned into one through the 2025 season. So far, he's appeared in about 55 games for the Bulls, however, he is playing just 12 minutes per game. One former player who is still involved with the league today is Jared Dudley. Dudley re-signed for a 1-year deal following the championship victory, and in 2021, he had a season high of 3 points. In March, he tore his MCL and subsequently retired from playing, but as of August of 2021, Dudley has been in his current role, that being an assistant coach under Jason Kidd for the Dallas Mavericks, now coaching his former teammate in Anthony Davis. Like Jared Dudley, Quinn Cook fell out of the league relatively quickly. He had a small role for the Lakers in 2021, playing 16 games in LA and 7 games in Cleveland on 2 10-day contracts. Cook would then play for the Trailblazers preseason team before spending a year in the VTB United League, a league consisting of Russian and Kazakhstan teams. He was then acquired by the Kings G League team before being waived in October of 2022. After that, he played for the Chinese Basketball Association, where he had a famous 54-point performance in just 29 minutes. International ball continued to be the way for him, as he would spend a year in the same league as JaVale McGee. He then spent the end of 2024 in the Saudi Basketball League, and as of this week, he signed back with the Chinese Basketball Association. Honestly, I'm proud of Quinn Cook. He managed to play in the NBA, win a ring, and now at 32 years old is still managing to play the game that he loves. While I am sure that bouncing around the world is difficult, I imagine it's worth it to keep continuing to play ball. And the last active player from this roster to mention is Alex Caruso. Now, Alex Caruso GOAT became an unrestricted free agent in 2021, and he signed a 4-year, $37 million deal with the Chicago Bulls. In Chicago, he received the most amount of playing time he's seen, peaking at 28 minutes per game. While there, Caruso increased his 3-point volume and became known as one of the league's best perimeter defenders, hustle players, and he carried over from being a fan favorite in LA. This offseason, Caruso was blessed by the basketball gods, as in what I think was one of the most important moves of the offseason, Alex Caruso was traded from Chicago to Oklahoma City for Josh Giddey, to where he has been an incredibly valuable bench player on one of the greatest regular season teams that we have ever seen. And there is one other player that I want to mention, and that is DeMarcus Boogie Cousins. Following his time as a Warrior, Boogie signed a contract with the Lakers. However, he tore his ACL in a pickup game that August, never playing a game for LA. He was waived in February of 2020 for the Lakers to eventually sign Markieff Morris. Boogie was presented a ring from the Lakers, but he declined it. The former All-Star player would spend 2 more years in the NBA, spending time in Houston, back in LA as a Clipper, spending time in Milwaukee, and in Denver. During all of his stints on different teams, he played decent minutes and has an efficient per 36 stats. However, his defense was extremely poor and he often found himself in foul trouble. In 2024, Boogie Cousins, one of the most dynamic centers of the 2010s, quietly announced his retirement from the NBA. Nowadays, DeMarcus Cousins is still playing, spending time on the same Taiwan team as Dwight Howard, and is currently playing in Mongolia. And that is what happened to the 2020 bubble champion Los Angeles Lakers, a team with a bunch of random players that managed to put it together for one incredibly important championship. But after seeing where many players' careers went, it's understandable that this team was unsustainable and unable to repeat. If you like hearing team stories, I encourage you to check out this video about the 2021 Phoenix Suns, or this video about the rest of the 2011 Chicago Bulls. That is it for this one. If you guys liked the video, you know what to do, and I will catch you all later.